I started playing MOBAs at 30, and more specifically, Smite, 10 years after its release, 3 months before the release of Smite 2, and I'm going to talk about whether or not it was a good idea. MOBAs are so popular across esports, and we can really see how people get invested in it, and I think it's not an understatement to say they're pretty competitive. So you might be wondering why me, some random dude, started playing MOBAs. Double kill! To explain that, I've got to give you just a smidgen of background about myself as a video gamer. I played video games my whole life on console. Cry if you want. And over the last 7 or 8 years, I've actually been quite obsessed with platinum trophies, beating everything a game has to earn the platinum trophy, yada yada yada. And that's kind of how I lent towards Smite. But it actually started in a way that I just didn't think would ever happen. And it all started because I was playing some mobile game where you control a little team. And I realized I liked the idea of leveling up a team within a game mode. And I wasn't getting a fix from this.
You idiot!
So I then downloaded and tried League of Legends on the phone, and I was having a great time with it. So I then progressed onto actually playing League of Legends on the PC, which was fun, but very challenging, and I could smell the time commitment that this game was crying for. So I decided it would make more sense to play a MOBA on console, and when I was looking, there's only actually 2 or 3 that were actually live, and when I saw Smite, it just stirred something inside of me.
Hi, how are ya?
The character designs, third-person view, the sweatiness, it all just appealed to something inside me, and I knew I was going to love it, and I do. Would I recommend Smite to someone who's never played a MOBA before? I think we'll come to that at the end of the video because I've got a few things to discuss first. Now, before I delve into my actual experience of playing a MOBA, I think I have to address this belief that these games are very, very toxic. Do I think that's true? Yeah. I do think it's pretty toxic, but in its defense, I've played many different game genres and you just can't escape from toxicity. However, when there is a competitive element based on teamwork, yes, it's going to ramp it up a lot more. And I did experience a little bit of toxicity, I'm not going to lie, but nothing to put me off the game. So I had an idea as to how MOBAs work through playing League of Legends Wild Rift a good 20 hours, a couple of games on League of Legends. So I understood the premise of the lane system because going into it, you really have to understand that Smite is a team game through and through. You have to work with other players, build in certain ways to support your team and support yourself and the enemies you're facing, and if you lose sight of the teamwork, you become selfish, then you are going to be exposed to a lot more toxicity. And as a new player, yeah, people can be pretty unforgiving with you. So when I jumped in my first couple of games, thankfully there were bot matches, which I didn't even realize at the time. I got absolutely smashed, and after 250 hours of Smite, I can say nothing's really changed. I have continued to get my ass whooped many times, and when I was playing this, you have to bear in mind that as someone who was a trophy hunter, I was trying to get as much trophies as I could in relation to Smite, which meant that I was playing so many gods. I always had that trophy in the back of my mind for reaching Worshipper level 1 with 70 different gods, which in hindsight was an absolutely atrocious idea because it meant that I was spending 1 or 2 hours, 3 or 4 games with every single character, and I never really got a chance to master each of the gods. I wish I just kind of picked 3 or 4 of each and try to master them, and I think my skill level would have increased a lot faster. I can honestly say MOBAs, Smite in particular, is one of the hardest games I've ever played. I've played so many different types of games. I think the general consensus of a difficult game is things like From Software games or really difficult 2D platformers like Super Meat Boy. But my god, those games seem so easy compared to Smite. Not only do you have to learn every single god's mechanics, all of their attacks, you have to learn the basic controls, of course, which is very generic to a third-person game, but there's so much more. There's the builds, there's the tactics of every single game mode, there's just so much to it. So you have to be able to have a good mastery of the controls, but you have to have such a knowledge of everything that's going on that it pales in comparison to any other video game I've ever played, which means, yes, you just continue to make mistakes, and obviously you learn through mistakes. I still had a really good time playing Smite, but there was always in the back of my mind that I just didn't know enough. I felt like my knowledge was always holding me back as I progressed through the game. So there is something I want to address. I played this on console, and it's crossplay, and most of the people who play Smite will play it on PC. It is so competitive on PC, and I can see why. You are at a massive disadvantage for using a controller. You get slapped a lot, you just can't quite react in time. It is a lot harder. Am I planning on moving? I don't know, I can't say yet, purely because of the amount of skins I bought on my PlayStation account. If I was to move to PC, I'd be starting again. And this game, of course, is free to play, and the skins are something I've not really been exposed to. There's so many of them, and they are so expensive. It's kind of mind-blowing that as gamers, we actually tolerate this kind of monetization, this extreme type of monetization, because it's just so hard not to be suckered in, and that's kind of what they want. So as I started, I gravitated towards assassins and hunters because I thought high damage is the way to go. Little did I realize these characters tend to be a lot more complicated, and there's a lot less room for error because you have so little health. After 15 minutes of the game of Conquest, you're pretty much dying in one shot, so there's just so little room for error. It's such a bad idea. I really didn't like Guardians to start with. I've never played tanks before in my life, so I gravitated more towards mages and warriors initially, but as I played more and understood more, I actually really enjoy Guardians and Warriors, and I enjoy playing the support lane and playing the solo lane. Favorite Guardians at the moment probably are Atlas and Terra. Just great annoying characters. You know, they're really tough to kill and they just really help your team and cause a lot of trouble for people. Also, Bacchus is just an absolute hoot. Who doesn't want to play someone who's just incredibly drunk all the time and gets stronger the more he drinks? It's just great. So would I recommend Smite to new players at this point? The game's been out for 10 years. People who play Smite sweat the game. I think we can all agree that they play it a lot. It's pretty common for people to have 2,000 to 5,000 hours on the game. I think you've got to go in with a really open mindset and just be like, well, I'm going to struggle with this. It's going to take me a long time to learn, but I haven't had a negative experience with it. In fact, I absolutely love Smite now, and I love MOBAs in general, hence the creation of this channel. I've played a lot of League of Legends Wild Rift, played a bit of Pokemon Unite, and mainly Smite, and they're all different MOBAs, but they're all still really fun and rewarding games. So yeah, I would actually recommend MOBAs to most people. I honestly think that MOBAs take gaming to the next level. I think it requires such a high level of knowledge and awareness, but it is so rewarding when you actually do manage to win and you work alongside a team. I was thankful enough to say that I did play with 3 or 4 people who had about 1,000 to 2,000 hours in Smite, so I had someone to learn off. Yes, there's a lot of guides you can watch. There's a lot of videos on YouTube you can watch now, and they will help you. I do want to say there is this weird thing with Smite YouTube where it's all incredibly clickbait, and as someone who makes videos on another channel and watches YouTube all the time, it feels like you're taking a step back in time. It really does, because you kind of like, you'll see a title and it's like, the best build ever, you will win every game, and then you go on it and it's literally just a highlight from someone's Twitch stream. I feel like I don't get it, but obviously they get enough views to justify doing it. It's just a very weird space, I have to say. So hopefully this channel can provide you with different content. Play Smite. I recommend it.